Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Gears of War 4 Inconceivable difficulty video walkthrough. This is Act 3, 4, Do Not Go Gentle. This is one of the hardest missions in the game, and I would not normally say that because on Insane I didn't have any problems with it outside of the Pouncer room with the Juvies, which is a room that everyone's going to have trouble with because it's just not a very fun fight or a very fair fight. The reason that this is surprisingly difficult is there's a room that I don't even remember that has incredibly aggressive drones. We're talking 4 out of maybe 10 enemies in that room will rush you. And when they rush you, it's very difficult to do much because you don't have any cover. So compound aggressive enemies with bad cover and just a really long fight, and you have a fight that took me about 40 minutes. And I know that doesn't sound like a long time, but trust me guys, it was miserable. Every part of it was miserable. It was really, really annoying and frustrating, and to give you an idea of how this walkthrough went, outside of about 5 areas, 5 spots in the game, this is one of them, I did every fight on the first or second or third attempt. I didn't really die much. That's not me trying to brag and say that I'm amazing, because I'm not. But it's just to give you an idea that if you've beat this game on Insane, Inconceivable might not be that much more difficult, because it's very similar. It's objectively harder, but you're also better. You're more experienced. You know what you're facing. None of it's going to be a surprise. The only surprise you're going to find is there might be 1 or 2 sections that you don't remember being difficult that kick your dick in, and this is one of them coming up, which I don't even remember the first time I played, but I had such a bad time. And I don't... Traditionally, on a lot of walkthroughs, I wouldn't have had this kind of a time because it doesn't seem like it should be a tough thing. But the way it's set up, it just... When you add that Inconceivable stipulation, and they do that more extra damage and they're super aggressive, it just went bad and bad and bad and bad. And as I mentioned, 40 minutes is a long time on a like a 4-minute mission. It took a long time. And the pieces of advice that I've learnt from it are to just focus on the guys running at you. The moment you see them sprinting towards you, they sprint in a straight line, and they don't use cover that well, so if you can kill them early, you'll be okay. But this is the room, guys. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I entered this room. And you know, to make matters worse, this room is so big that when all the enemies are in it, on the original Xbox, the frame rate dies. If you start firing that buzzkill gun that I just had then, that buzzsaw thing, it kills the frame rate. So not only is the performance problems on top of all the other problems, but it's a bloody nightmare. But here's what I did. I went up against cover on this left-hand pillar, and I'm going to just pepper at the enemies firing at me. And once you kill, I think it's 2 or 3 enemies, the next spawn's going to happen down at the bottom of the room, and they're going to start rushing forward. And every enemy that spawns at the bottom of this room is going to rush you. So from that point onwards, I'm going to preempt them with either grenades or lancer fire, and I'm just going to focus on the things that rush. The dudes that don't rush are not a problem, and sometimes when they rush, they go for your team first, and when they do that, it gives you the opportunity to shoot them and get into a good position and everything. But if they come for you, it's time to roll dices and pray for 6s. So here's me throwing the grenade. You see them sprinting? That guy went into cover, just to contradict what I've said. That guy jumped over that cover, and then the Bolt Hawker's running for my team. So here comes the Bolt Hawker. I've swapped to the Retro Lancer to put them down because they're close, and then that's the second spawn done. So right now, there's a couple of people left, 1 on the right, 1 on the left, and there's another spawn coming. And the next spawn that's going to happen is going to be, I think, 2 more rushers and a pair of snipers. But these guys can rush, as evidenced by this fella here. So keep an eye on them. The moment you notice them rushing, you have to react, guys. You cannot let them do it. They're too aggressive, they're too strong, and they're too damaging. Like, there's a guy coming on the left here, and I know he's coming because he's killed me before. So right then, if he'd have hit me with that Bolt Hawk, I was done. But he didn't, and I'm alive, and we're going to win. But 40 minutes in this room. Can you imagine this? I was getting mad at the fact I shouldn't have been stuck for that long. Like, and now at the end of the room, there's 2 marksmen who can instantly kill you, so you want to be really careful now, because you've got rid of the rushers. The only thing left is a couple of guys, but the one time you poke your head out at a bad time, you will instantly die. So you want to be very, very careful on what you do here. So mark the enemies as best as you can, use your team. To my left here, there are those two alcoves with the pots, and if you shoot the pots, you can stand in them, and I used that a little bit to try and clip around the corner, but every time I did that I got rushed, and it didn't work as well as I would like it to, but it seemed like it could be good if you used it right, so if these pillars aren't working for you guys, try those alcoves, they might be the key to winning. But I used the long shot a little bit, that seemed good, but I always got rushed, so I just kind of did it this way, but I had a really bad time here. And here we come, here it goes. The moment you see this, you have to shoot them. You cannot let them run. When they start running, you're done. He's downed, by the way. You can tell with how his symbol was bobbing. And now, there's only 2 snipers, or 1 sniper left. So you can push forward if you want to, but I'm going to bitch it up because I was here too long. And you get a couple of seconds before he shoots when he pops out of cover, and a couple seconds after he shoots when he doesn't go back in cover. That's your opening. You could go for the sniper now, pick it up and kill him, but I'm not risking it. And that's it. That's the end of the room. I can't even tell you guys how pissed off I was at this moment in time by the end of it. I was white-knuckle raging because it was just so frustrating. I've never seen drones rush you the way they rushed me in some of those attempts. It was nightmarish. It was straight up horde when it goes into individual digits of the wave that's left, and every single one of them puts its fucking racing shoes on and comes and finds you. But this room here looks intimidating, but it's actually really easy. At the beginning, if you go to the left and go through this trench, you can get where the Therons are, and then just kill them without them being able to hit you. But you need to be careful, because they do some wonderful gymnastics. Do you see that talk round just then? They're so good at aiming, they can do like weird, stupid, spiffy shots that bounce and still somehow get... Look at that! You see that? You can't do that with a torque bow. It's so much bullshit. The AI is ridiculous. He's doing like trick shots and fucking yo-yo tricks and stuff. What a dick. And he's killing my team pretty well. But you can be way more aggressive than I'm being, guys. I'm just a bit tilted right now because of that previous fight. But once that's done, we get to the best fight in the game, right? Everyone's favourite. So this is a shit fight. I'm not going to tell you anything less. But if you control it right, you can do this quite convincingly. And what I figured out, guys, is on the second phase, which is the tough one, if you stand at a certain point, you can shoot them as they're dropping in and get a few of them over to you, and you can use your team as bait to get a few of them over to them, and you can kind of make it so that not all of them are coming for you, and the ones that are, you're killing. So here come the first wave of juvies. So I'm just going to kind of circle around the room, look around myself, punch the ones that get close. My team is surprisingly going to do a decent job here of just being distractions and killing and everything. And I'm just going to take my time, don't panic. When your team goes down, start to panic, because it means everything's coming for you. But for the most, you should be okay. And this is the easy part. So for this part, do you see where that opening is just there? They come from the right-hand side, and they also come from the left. But my team is on the left right now, do you see that? So I can just punch the ones coming from the right. Boom. Team's on the left, distracting. Guy on the right, guy on the right. Pouncer turns up, punch that guy. 2 more on my right, punch that guy. Pouncer on my left, that guy, punch that guy. And then there's just one left, and it's just a pouncer. How crazy did that look? That was a gift. The way that happened, with the team on the left pulling a couple away from me, and the rest coming to the right, it worked beautifully. And then all you want to do now is use this middle pillar to out-angle the pouncer. If this guy hits you with all the quills, you'll die. So don't even mess with this. If you can do those juvies, you should never die to this piece of shit. And this room is one of the hardest rooms in the game. But my god, did that not look sexy? Was that not the sweetest, cleanest view of this room you've ever seen? That was a gift from God. I don't even know what else to say. It just worked. And that's the problem with this room. It's a mess. It's messy. It's a cluster. There's no safe place. There's no guarantee. You've just got to play the odds and win. And that's what happened just then. And luckily, I was not here for very long. But if you are, I feel for you, because it's a really shitty place to be. But this is the path choosing. I think I picked the right path. It enables you to shoot at the Therons. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to maybe get a torque bow, because the torque bow is really good. And if you can carry a torque bow to the snatcher fights, it does incredible damage to them. It's really, really strong. And then there's rare footage of me using this move, because I was feeling a little bit cavalier. Why not, right? And then you can shoot down on these guys. I don't remember the opposite path to this, or if I've ever done it, but I was kind of picking on instinct. I have no idea which is the tougher path. If I've picked the harder path, then don't pick it, pick the easier one. If I've picked the easy one, pick the easy one, right? I'm all about getting shit done. As we move through this cave system that reminds me of Gears of War 2. Have you noticed that on Gears of War, when you go underground, the game is never that interesting. I've never enjoyed the underground moments. In the first game, the only part I really like is the pump station with the Therons, because I think that that's a really cool section. Maybe the Corpser fight was okay, but for everything else, it was wretches, it was dark, it was boring, right? In the second game, you went underground really early after you did the avalanche place, and it was just kind of those weird worms and like tons of fights and not that interesting and crazy luminous plants and stuff. And then at the end of the game, when you went into the super underground, into the Nexus, it was just room after room after room of that identical looking palace place with the same fucking royal bloody drones and stuff. That was the most brutal, repetitious part of any Gears of War. I found it to be so boring. And then in the third game, you did go underground a few times, but I found in the third game it wasn't so bad. Like, it had so much diversity in that game that going underground in that one wasn't a big deal. I don't remember if you went underground in the fourth one. But they don't do you like the underground bits, guys? What do you think about them? I've always kind of felt like Gears to me is at its best when you're in destroyed civilizations, when you're in those crazy chest-high wall palaces of human decay. That's always where the game has shone for me. Like Act 4 Gears of War 1, you know that very first courtyard you come to with all the boomers? That is a thing of beauty, that fight. That's one of the greatest fights in Gears history. But a couple of guys just left here. They're not looking at me, which gives me a massive advantage on them. So I can just pepper them and shoot them. Still not looking at me for some reason. I could have probably chainsawed him and made that quick, but I definitely err on the side of caution in these games. It's just one of those instincts I've got. Actually, you did go underground on the third game, didn't you? Because there was the baby corpses and then the big corpser, and the big corpser wasn't very fun. God, that third game, man. I forgot so much of it, but I remember the bad things. I remember the fucking Cerapedes and the stupid armoured Cantuses and things like that. I'd be so interested to go back to that game. Because I think it's the hardest Gears by a large margin. I think Ram is ridiculous on Insane if you ever fought him, especially if you don't use the Nasher trick. I think that on the second game, the hardest part for me personally was that gondolier thing, because I just kept dying really quickly and I didn't understand why. And none of my friends had trouble there, but I had a nightmare there. But the third game just has so many tough bits. Like, almost every act has a part where you're scared. Oh my goodness. Terrifying moments. This is also rare footage of me using a power weapon. This is the drop shot. So if you don't know how to use the drop shot, it's quite an interesting tool. Watch this, by the way. Look at that! Balls of steel, this kid. I must have just been in the zone right there. But the idea of this weapon is the top of its reticle is where the projectile is going to be cast, and when you hold the trigger, it will streak out in a straight line. When you release the trigger, it will drill downwards. So you can use it to fly over cover, come down on people. And if you hit them in the face, the drill bit hits in their head, and it's a really satisfying execution. But thank you for watching, guys, and you take care now.